I was saying, y'all, it's your boy Rico from RicoScores, and before you even ask, yes, I'm tired, but I'm being carried by so much excitement by how active we're being in free agency. I don't even feel it until like after I'm done recording the video and I'm editing. But while I'm recording, boy, it's on. So I'm here with yet another video because, again, I promised y'all on every little thing the Commanders do, I'm going to do a video on it, even if it's something as small as signing a kicker. But I feel like a lot of people are underestimating how important a kicker is. You can win and lose games because of kickers, especially in the playoffs. But either way, the Washington Commanders have now signed guard Nick Allegretti. Oh, y'all didn't know I spoke a little bit of Italian, man. I was over there for a hot little minute, picked it up, you feel me? But back to the main part, man. He played with a torn UCL in this past Super Bowl, man. We got to talk about why that's, of course, a great thing as far as toughness, but also that could potentially be a bad thing. I know a lot of people are excited about it, but I mean, the Super Bowl wasn't that long ago. Is this guy even ready to play for us anytime soon? We're going to talk about the positives and negatives of this signing. Is he potentially being brought here to be a starter or a depth piece? Hopefully the contract gives us those clues. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at his stats, like how many pressures and sacks he's allowed in his limited role as kind of like a fill-in backup for the Chiefs the past couple of years. And then we're also going to take a look at the overall offensive line and where we stand right now. Do we need any more offensive linemen, or are we done? We're going to dive into all of that and more, but before we do, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get a notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned because, again, like I promised, no matter how small, no matter how big, this is your one-stop shop for everything Commanders. I even talked about the rumor that somehow, even after signing Frankie Louvu, we're still one of the top 2 potential landing spots for Patrick Queen. So even if it's like a rumor like that, I'm keeping y'all updated, and of course I'm updating y'all on every single signing. We're going to do a full deep dive into stats, contract numbers, and everything from every single person that we sign, whether they're a starter or a backup. Doesn't matter. We're covering them here, and make sure you stay tuned because I have a lot more videos. I still got to do the very first signing that we did, which is Dorance Armstrong. Well, technically the first signing of day one because we signed Zach Ertz a few days ago. But the first signing of day one, the Dorance Armstrong video is ready. I have all of the notes, but it's just all these other things just keep coming, and I feel like I might as well just go ahead and knock those out first, and then we'll get to the Dorance Armstrong. And I'm going to tell y'all why y'all should be far more excited about that Dorance Armstrong signing than y'all probably already are. But before we dive into all of that, getting ahead of ourselves, let's focus on this video. My boy, Nick Allegretti, let's get it. All right, so the first place I saw it reported was Ari Meirov. I still don't exactly know how to pronounce his name. I guess I'm just going to have to Google it someday. But it's at My Sports Update. You see him all the time on Twitter. He says, source, former Chiefs guard Nick Allegretti is expected to sign with the Commanders on a 3-year, $16 million deal. Allegretti started in the Super Bowl and played the entire game despite suffering a torn UCL in his elbow in the second quarter, and now he's making millions with the Commanders. He earned it, if anything, at least for that. But I feel like we do need to really take some time and talk about what he did. He came into the Super Bowl, this past Super Bowl, where the Chiefs just beat the 49ers, our Adam Peters 49ers, and he stepped in place of All-Pro Joe Thuney. So let's first of all talk about how monumental that is to, in a Super Bowl, when people need you the most, for you to try to replace an All-Pro guard, and then to play 79 snaps total throughout the game despite suffering a torn UCL in his elbow in the second quarter. Come on, bro. And an MRI today revealed the full tear. Fewer tougher than Allegretti, now a 3-time champion. But let's really break this down. I mean, of course, yeah, he's a 3-time Super Bowl champ with the Chiefs, 7th round pick in 2019. I feel like he's definitely outplayed that draft pick, especially with us bringing him here to potentially start, or at the very least compete for the starting left guard spot as a 7th round pick. Shouts out to the Chiefs for drafting him, and shouts out to Adam Peters and this new Commanders regime for stealing him from the Chiefs. He's had 13 starts in 6 years, not a lot. He played 80 snaps for Kansas City last year, not a lot. He started and played well in the Super Bowl with that torn UCL. He played center and guard in his career so far, so a little versatile, and he's had no penalties or sacks in 2023. Even though, again, he didn't play a lot, He only played 80 snaps last year, but he still didn't allow any sacks and didn't have any penalties. He played very well in that Super Bowl. But we actually have the exact moment where he tore his ligament in his right elbow, and I'm not going to show that clip, but a really interesting point that came from it was that when he was interviewed by Jim Rome, he said, quote, "Fortunately, we had the 2-minute warning and I had a couple of seconds to gather myself, figured out that my arm could still bend, and then I was ready to go." That's all he needed. That's all you need to know, is that your arm could bend. Forget the tear in your UCL. As long as you can bend your arms, you're good. And then he played 60 more snaps after the UCL tear. So he played 19 snaps, tore the UCL in his elbow, and then played 60 more after that for a total of 79 snaps in the Super Bowl. And that is absolutely incredible. And even Travis Kelce went out of his way to thank our new guard, Allegretti, on his podcast with his brother, of course, Jason Kelce, who just retired, and literally said, "We wouldn't have won that Super Bowl without you." But he went into like full in-depth, I think more than 2 minutes talking about it, and like, man, the way he stepped in, especially trying to fill big shoes like an all-pro Joe Thuney. I mean, with that alone, that's a lot of pressure. But then to also tear your UCL in the process in the second quarter and to finish the rest of that game is absolutely incredible. Again, if Travis Kelce endorses him, I think we all should. And this guy even had a receiving touchdown against the Steelers at some point in the season. Now, I know some people are going to call it a thick six. I'm not going to call it that here, but I just wanted to throw that out there, that that's what people are calling it. But just know, you don't got to worry about me ever saying that one again. And my boy at Redskins Colt brings up a good point. I mean, we may have wanted the other Chiefs lineman more, and we also hope that he doesn't end up like the last Chiefs lineman that we signed in Andrew Wiley. I thought that was a really interesting look at it. And then also, Grant Paulson, thank you for pointing out the fact that this guy is only 27 years old and only has 4 starts over the last 3 seasons. That's not a lot, but this is another younger signing that, along with Dorrance Armstrong, along with Frankie Lavu, along with Tyler Biadasz, these guys are potentially just now entering their primes. And I feel like for arguably all 4 of those guys, their best days are ahead of them. I feel like they've all already done pretty good things with their previous teams, but I think they're coming here to be even better, to take on larger roles than they've had with their previous teams, man. And shouts out to Mason Kinahan for pointing this out. Peters has been very active and we love to see it. I expect Allegretti to be in a camp battle with the rookie for that left guard spot, similar to the battle between Chris Paul and Sadiq Charles last summer. I personally feel like Chris Paul is also involved in that starting left guard spot, but I do expect us to also draft the guy as well. Solid depth piece anyways for Washington, no matter which way you look at it. Now, when you're looking at his contract details, I think that will more so tell us everything we need to know. Once we actually have the official contract structure and know exactly how much of a cap hit he is, we'll know what they exactly signed him here to be. And it looks more like a backup role by the money from what I'm seeing so far. Really close to like the Wes Schweitzer type deal a couple of years ago, but we'll see. I mean, right now I'm seeing reports that his deal, I mean, I'm not sure if this is absolutely confirmed, but I'm seeing 3 years, $16 million with only $9 million guaranteed, which is literally identical to the deal that they just gave Nick Gates last year. And what's interesting is that Wes Schweitzer was given that deal 2 years ago to be a backup. Nick Gates was given that deal to be a starter. So I don't exactly know what to take from this as far as his contract goes, but at the very least, we know that he's very cheap. It also shouts out to Mason Kinahan for pointing this out as well. It looks like another backloaded contract for Washington, because they're saying that it's 3 years, $16 million, $9.02 million guaranteed, salaries of $1.13 million guaranteed, $2 million and 5.5, and then $20K per game active roster bonus, up to $340,000 annual, and an annual $150,000 workout bonus. So it's a lot of incentives in there, and basically, when you're really looking at the contract, it seems pretty backloaded, just like Dorrance Armstrong's contract, which again, I will cover and talk about when I finally get to that Dorrance Armstrong video, hopefully after this one, if they just don't go and sign somebody else before I'm done with this one. Golly, man. And so basically it's looking like with him getting like $9 million guaranteed cap hit wise, which is what us fans are concerned with the most. How much is he hitting us for the cap space? How much cap space do we still have? I'm working on a video that after things die down, I will give y'all a big time cap space update and let y'all know how much cap space we still have, where we rank in the NFL in terms of cap space, and who we could potentially still sign. So stay tuned for that. If by the time I wake up tomorrow we haven't signed anybody, I'll probably go ahead and knock that video out tomorrow. video, as in Tuesday, March 12th. So stay tuned for that. But either way, right now it's looking like he's getting pennies, because it's looking like he's only a $3 million cap hit per year. But of course, it's not $3 million consistently. It's a little bit the first year, like $1 million. Then it's like $3 million the next year. And then it's like $5 million, it seems like, the next year. Or $1 million, then 2, then 5.5. But of course, I'm waiting for like Spot Track and those guys to officially come out with the official numbers. But either way, man, when we're talking about starter or depth player, he seems to be thinking that he's coming in to start. I mean, he was on Good Morning Football America literally just like 10 days ago, and said literally, quote, "I'm definitely looking for a place to start. Make my name as a full-time starter," unquote. If you want to really dive into it, a longer quote is, "I'm definitely looking for a place to go start and make my name as a full-time starter. The best thing about football for me as an offensive lineman is the option and the availability to go lead a group of men. That's one of my favorite parts about football, and the best way to do that is to be a starter day one." So this guy is trying to recover from that UCL injury and come here and start immediately. And as of right now, his only real competition is Chris Paul. I mean, unless we go out and sign a starting right tackle, which I'm not sure if we do that, because, you know, paying all of these guys, we're starting to run out of cap space. We're not out of it yet. We can still potentially go get some more guys. Hopefully, like Tyron Smith at left tackle. Maybe we can still even afford a Patrick Queen at linebacker as well. But the resources are finite. We're spending all of this money. The cap space is going somewhere. We can't just go and get everybody that we want. But say for some reason they did go and get a new right tackle to start, maybe Andrew Wiley is then competing at left guard along with Chris Paul and my boy Allegretti. So we'll see how this goes. I'm really interested in seeing what this camp battle is going to look like. Y'all know me, man. Before we get to training camp, I'm gonna do a video of my top training camp battles. That left guard spot is very intriguing right now. But of course, we have the draft to still go through. We still have multiple waves, days, weeks of free agency. So who knows what happens before then? We'll see. But maybe they did sign him to be a starter. I'm pretty sure with as clear as he made that on NFL Network, I think he was with Good Morning Football America, I believe that clip was from. I'm pretty sure he also conveyed that message to the Commanders front office and coaching staff when they talked to him about the potential contract. But at the very least, all we know is this is a cheap contract. So if this guy can actually be a good starting left guard, we technically only have to worry about left tackle and maybe right tackle. It depends. But we potentially have this guy on an extremely cheap contract if he's a starter. And even as a backup, this is still very high value, because you could argue that he's one of the, if not the best backup interior lineman in the NFL, just based off of what he did in the Super Bowl. But then again, I'm not sure how much I want to jump the gun off of one Super Bowl performance, because Andrew Wiley embarrassed the Eagles edge rushers in the Super Bowl the previous season, and then we signed him, and then he wasn't that good until Now, we do got to give Andrew Wiley a little bit of credit. He seemed like he started to figure it out the second half of the season, was pretty all right there. I feel like it was a mix of Samuel Cosmi playing at a higher level. Again, I would argue second half of the season, Samuel Cosmi was the best player on our entire roster. That's including Terry McLaurin, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, all of those guys. And then maybe Samuel Cosmi playing at a higher level also helped Andrew Wiley to be able to play at a higher level. But either way, towards the second half of the season, Andrew Wiley actually started to play fairly decent. I'm not going to say very well, not like I just want to go into week one assuming he's our right tackle, but I'm also not afraid of the fact that he will be our right tackle. He definitely started to figure some things out as the season went on, and I mean, I guess you can kind of expect that. Offensive line is largely based on chemistry and time spent with the guy next to you and things like that, communication, knowing each other like the back of your hand without even having to speak, knowing that, okay, if there's this twist, I know I'm gonna get this, Samuel Cosmi, you get that, and that takes time to work on things like that. But still, at the end of the day, we signed Andrew Wiley to come here and be an immediate impact starter. It took a while, and so I don't want to go into this situation extremely optimistic like I was with the Andrew Wiley situation, because I was let down severely in the first half of the year. Sam Howell, most importantly, was let down severely the first half of the season. But again, it started to work out later than that. I'm just hoping that my boy Allegretti will be ready sooner than what Andrew Wiley was last year. But either way, left guard competition-wise, it looks like it's between my dog Allegretti, Chris Paul, maybe a Sadiq Charles if we re-sign him, or maybe like an undrafted free agent or a guy that we potentially take in the draft. Mason Brooks is involved as well. I mean, they went out of their way to sign Mason Brooks and Kazmir Allen like very quickly. Like before we even signed Zach Ertz, before we even cut Charles Leno, Logan Thomas, and Nick Gates, the very first move technically by Adam Peters was re-signing Mason Brooks and Kazmir Allen. So I'm assuming they have some high hopes for those guys. So Mason Brooks will also be involved in this. But I think with all of those guys I've already named, I think it's even less likely that we bring back a Sadiq Charles. He's probably going to end up elsewhere unless he's willing to come back here for like a super veteran minimum, and I doubt it. But again, worst case scenario, we have a high-end backup on an extremely high-value contract that will compete to start, and we need as many offensive linemen as possible. So we are making this team as rookie quarterback friendly as possible, and I love it. I love this signing. I'm not going to sit here and act like we just hired a future all-pro. I'm not going to sit here and act like we just hired Joe Thuney himself, but this is still a pretty solid signing. Shouts out to Chris Cooley for also bringing up these stats. My boy Allegretti has only allowed 3 sacks and 978 pass blocking snaps, and that's pretty good, man. That's not elite, but that's really good. In 2023, even though he was limited in snaps, he has 73.7 pass blocking grade from Pro Football Focus over the course of 160 snaps, and then he had a pretty bad 59.6 run blocking grade over the course of 93 snaps. So we'll see. Again, this is more like a high-end depth piece that has some potential to start and grow. Again, age-wise, he started to enter his prime, so I'm expecting him to be even better than what he was potentially for the Chiefs. So I'm very excited. But even with as tough as he is, I do feel like we need to talk about this torn UCL. Yeah, again, it's great that he was able to play through it, but dog, how bad was that torn UCL? And most importantly, how long will it take for him to recover from that torn UCL just in the Super Bowl in February? So I think that's very important. But man, I think one thing that a lot of people have not noticed about these signings, there's a central theme from all of these signings that we've made so far. Well, there's technically several themes. Definitely themes more important than the one I'm gonna bring up, but just for fun, another really fun theme, of course, again, I want to re-emphasize unimportant theme that's going on right now, is that Walterfootball loves all of our signings right now, and he usually hated all of our signings over the past few years, and maybe that explains why we never won anything. I mean, as sometimes it did look like, all right, man, that looks like a pretty good signing to me, and he still hated it. Now he loves our signings. He gave Nick Allegretti the highest grade you could possibly give anybody, an A+ for his 3-year, $16 million deal. He said, it's definitely a new day in Washington. The Redskins used to be infamous for overspending on aging veterans. This, like the Austin Eckler signing, is a very sharp move. He gave the Austin Eckler signing, I believe, a straight A. I'm going to talk about that in another video. But Nick Allegretti didn't play very much last year, but he did a terrific job of filling in for an injured Joe Thuney during the Chiefs' Super Bowl run. His high level of play indicated that he deserved a chance elsewhere. The Redskins recognized this, signing Allegretti to what he could look like a ridiculous value deal in the future, all while filling a big need. And I completely agree with everything he said. Would I go as far as to say that this is an A+ signing? I'm not necessarily sure that. I feel like if it's an A+, I'm only reserving that for a guy that's like future Pro Bowler, future All-Pro. And you never know, maybe he has that in him. He just hasn't tapped into his ceiling yet. He hasn't reached his ceiling. Who knows? But I'm going to give this at minimum a really good B+. I'm leaning A- just off of the value. You potentially have a starter at worst, high-end backup for what, like $3 million cap hit a year right now? That's incredible. And man, we have made 6 signings today, y'all. Like Adam Peters said he would be active, and I believed him. But he's actually doing it, man. Day one of free agency of the league. It's technically not even free agency yet. This is day one of the tampering period. The new league year doesn't start till Wednesday, March 13th at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And he's going crazy. We've already added in a defensive end, a linebacker, a center, a guard, a kicker, a running back, and a tight end. Well, technically, tight end was from a few days ago. But either way, so far in free agency, these are the moves that we've made. And I'm very happy. I'm very impressed, man. Now, I still want us to go and get like some decent receivers, but we could probably draft a few of those guys. And I still feel like we need corner or safety. I mean, Justin Simmons will be the dream pick here. And the later that this process goes on, maybe his value diminishes over time. Again, just like the running back market, and you can even argue the safety market is being devalued because it's flooded. And over time, there's going to be more safeties that need teams than teams that need safeties. And eventually, maybe Justin Simmons will be willing to take a cheaper deal than he normally would have. And I would love for us to swoop in and get him. Because again, he has major ties to Adam Peters, similar to how we went and got Brandon McManus as our kicker. He has ties to Adam Peters in Denver, so does Justin Simmons. But Adam Peters literally drafted Justin Simmons. So that's a different level of connection right there. And then Dan Quinn and Joe Wood Jr., with them wanting to create turnovers and literally being the best at creating turnovers in the NFL over the past 3 seasons, to get Justin Simmons, who's led the NFL in interceptions since he was drafted in 2016. And if you even want to change the goalpost to just since 2020, that he's been doing this the whole time. He's been leading the NFL in interceptions since 2020 as well. That combination is too perfect. But offensive lines wise, man, are we done pretty much except for left tackle at this point? I mean, if you want to say ceiling wise, best case scenario, left guard Allegretti, center Tyler Biadasz, right guard Samuel Cosmi, and then right tackle, I guess, Andrew Wiley, which at this point leaves us left tackle wise. I'm hoping that we go and get a Tyron Smith. But also, let's just take a look at this, what we have on the offensive line right now. Nick Allegretti allowed 2 sacks over the course of the last 316 pass pro snaps that he had. Not bad at all. Tyler Biadasz only allowed 4 sacks in 1,298 snaps. And then Samuel Cosmi only allowed 1 sack in his last 736 snaps. So, man, this rookie quarterback is in good hands, man. If we hit on left tackle between free agency or the draft, hopefully both, in my opinion, I think this potential rookie quarterback that we're more than likely going to end up taking number 2 overall is going to be in great hands. He's going to be ecstatic about joining a team with an offensive line built like that, especially if you can go get a Tyron Smith at left tackle. If Adam Peters can find a way to get that done as well, as much as I would love Patrick Queen and Justin Simmons as well, you get me Tyron Smith to finish out this class, we're good. We're going into the draft extremely high up on our horse, like chin up, like, man, let's get it, man. Forget rebuilding. We're recalibrating, like Dan Quinn said. Let's go make the playoffs in year 1 of a new regime. Yeah, man, I'm that hyped with it. I'm booted up. Yeah, let's get it, man. But yes, sir, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Let me know how you feel about the signing of Nick Allegretti. How do you feel? Is this as great of a signing to you as it feels like to me, or even an A+ that Walterfootball gave us? Again, Walterfootball is pretty stingy with his grades, especially when it comes to the burgundy and gold. He even refuses to call us the Commanders. He still only calls us the Redskins. He has no reason to give us any higher grade than he feels like we deserve, and he gave it an A+. Let me know how you feel about it. Are you somewhere in between me and Walterfootball, or are you maybe lower on this signing than we are? I don't know. Let me know how you feel in the comment section about everything. How do you feel about the way this offensive line is shaping up? All of that, man. I'm really excited, and again, stay tuned because I'm keeping y'all updated on every little thing the Commanders do. And I guess after I'm done with this, it's time to head right on over to the Dorrance Armstrong video, so stay tuned for that as well. I really appreciate y'all. I'm having fun making these videos, so don't even worry about me. Y'all don't understand how much I love football, and the fact that my Commanders are finally starting to do things the right way. We finally have grown men. We finally have professionals in the front office. I'm in heaven right now, so I don't care how many guys they sign. I'm doing a video on each of them no matter what. I haven't had the chance today to really do much else but make these videos, but I don't care because I'm excited because my Commanders are on the up and up, man. Georgia Bulldogs and Commanders great at the same time is just absolutely unfair, man. I'm too excited. I'm gonna catch y'all later, man. I'm out.